Hello there, welcome back to the booth here in Milwaukee. Marshall Sutcliffe with Ian Duke, and we're ready for the last round of action here on day one. This is a big one, and we've got two undefeated players in our feature match area. Let's head down for round 8 here from Milwaukee. Hello and welcome to coverage of Pro Tour Battle for Zendikar. Marshall Sutcliffe in the booth with Ian Duke. And we're ready for round number 8 here, Ian. This is right down the stretch, last round of action here on day one. This is where the players really look to finish strong, especially these two we have in our feature match here. We have Eric Severson of the United States sitting at 7-0. Eric is a GP regular as well. He's got a tall order here, though. Paulo Vitor Damo Da Rosa is his opponent, also at 7-0, and he's Paulo. He's PV.
Yep.
9 PT top 8s. He's a Hall of Famer. He's got it all. One of the best players ever to play. What's this matchup look like here?
So this is Atarka Red versus Dark Jeskai variant. Paulo Vitor Damo Da Rosa playing Atarka Red. So as we know, he's going to start trying to attack with cheap red aggressive creatures and hopefully set up a combo finish with cards like Become Immense and Teamer Battle Rage. Meanwhile, from Eric Severson, Dark Jeskai, of course, is the Jeskai clan colored plus black, usually splashing cards like Crackling Doom, maybe Murderous Cut, and so on and so forth.
All right, a quick start here for Paulo. Does find himself on the draw here, it seems. But he has a Zergo Bell Striker ready to rumble here on turn 2, which it does. Now, on the other side of the table for Severson, though, he actually kicked things off right away with the Dragon Master Outcast there.
Yeah, I actually wonder, Dragon Master Outcast often doesn't come down on turn 1. I wonder if he did that specifically because he knows that Paulo Vitor Damo Da Rosa is playing Atarka Red and just wants an early blocker.
I would say that's probably the case.
Yeah.
Information flows pretty freely in the halls here at a Pro Tour by the time we hit round 8.
Yeah, especially when there's only a handful of undefeated players left. I think they all have done their homework and know what each other are playing.
Right.
Soulfire Grandmaster, a pretty awesome card against Atarka Red.
Yeah, wow, really good. Now, the first one died to a Fiery Impulse, but there was a replacement.
18.
And we see Severson opting not to trade here, hoping maybe to draw into some burn spells and get some extra value out of that lifelink plus your burn has lifelink kind of ability there. Well,
Yeah,
Paulo
there were
just
no-
keeps up the attack.
Yeah, there were no blocks here. Paulo's going to crack both of his fetch lands, get access to some mana, and he's just going to dump it all in to the dashed Lightning Berserker there, though that does clear the way here for Soulfire Grandmaster to get in for a hit and recoup some of that damage.
We see in Paulo's hand a second copy of Zergo Bell Striker, Titan Strength, and the Lightning Berserker that was just dashed out that turn. So a moderate amount left in the tank, kind of. But I think this is definitely anyone's game. I mean, sometimes these Atarka Red decks get off to such a strong start that, the game is all but over right away. But with the Soulfire Grandmaster, it looks like a Mantis Rider just off the top for Eric Severson. It looks like he'll be able to put up a pretty good fight in the red zone here.
All right, yeah, it was a Mantis Rider there. I mean, is Severson going to be able to just race Paulo from here?
He very well could.
He's piling on 6 damage this turn.
Yeah, I'm interested to see if he wants to leave the Dragon Master Outcast back to threaten to block the Lightning Berserker.
Yeah, sure, that makes sense too. Even then, he still hits for 5.
Yeah. Deciding whether he wants to attack or not. I mean, it's definitely a decision here. If you knew for sure that the Dragon Master Outcast could trade with the Lightning Berserker, I think you definitely lead it back. But there's a lot of question marks here. I mean, Paulo could simply just have a Wild Slash or something to take out the blocker.
Plus, at this point, I think if Paulo berserks in a Lightning or dashes in a Lightning Berserker and just pumps it up, you're fine with that, right?
Yes.
Like, he doesn't lose that race currently.
For the most part.
I mean, there are things that can happen, as we've seen earlier in the day.
Yeah, you always have to be worried about things like Temur Battle Rage. I can't quite see how many cards Paulo has in his graveyard at this point. But if there's one thing to be sure, it's this Atarka Red deck is capable of some pretty out-of-nowhere crazy combinations. So you just definitely don't want to get caught off guard.
Titan Strength is the pump spell of choice here for Paulo.
And this works out fairly well for Paulo. It looks like a 2-for-1, but actually Paulo has a second copy of Zergo stranded in his hand. So I think he's fairly happy. Oh, no, maybe he doesn't. We'll have to double-check that for you on the hand viewer in just a moment.
You go to 8, I go to 12.
Yeah, it looks like he does have another backup Zergo.
Ooh, and here's a Gideon now as well for Eric Severson.
Wow, this is super strong. I mean, every turn, that 0 ability presenting a creature that's basically as good as any of the creatures in Paulo's deck.
Yeah, can trade them straight up for most of them. Wow, so Severson really kind of turned the corner a couple of turns ago, has been able to keep pressure on Paulo, and has even been able to develop his own board out in an impressive way.
Yeah, I think it's all thanks to that Soulfire Grandmaster just gaining that extra life. And Mantis Rider's Vigilance being really key here as well. And this is one of the major differences between this season's mono red decks, or Atarka red decks, and last season's red decks, is that previously they were very burn heavy with cards like Lightning Strike and Stoke the Flames and Exquisite Firecraft. And this season they are much more about creature combat and actually having to get through with your creatures. So blocking is a lot more effective. The flip side of that, of course, is life gain tends to be a little bit less effective in the face of combinations like Become Immense and Temur Battle Cry.
Battle Rage.
Battle Rage, sorry.
Yeah. I'm with you. Paulo's got Severson down to 12, but looks like a far cry here. And it's just the Knight that's going to hit the red zone here. It's going to drop Paulo down to 6.
Play a second copy of Dragon Master Outcast. Last turn.
That's his second Dragon Master Outcast. Now, they're just 1/1s here still. He's only on 5 lands, but yeah, look at his board. Looks great. Okay, Zergo, go. Yeah, this is just falling apart here for Paulo. Does Paulo have any cards?
He has one unknown card.
Okay. Because, one thing that Severson has available to him as well is just to make an emblem with Gideon. That would force blocks by Paulo and leave him really with not a lot going on. Severson has cracked a fetch, but is carefully deciding exactly which land he wants to get with it.
But it is a 6th land regardless.
Indeed.
That turns on the Dragon Master Outcasts. So he could go for the Gideon emblem. I don't see a huge need to. I mean, he can simply wait one more turn. He's at 11 life. He's not in danger of being burned out.
Yeah.
He's got plenty of blockers. I'd just wait for a round of dragons, probably.
Go to 4.
Yeah, Paulo falls down to 4 here, and Severson's going to make another Knight. And yeah, just sit back. There's just so low risk here with Paulo having maximum 2 cards here. And Paulo just passes a turn back, but I think he's more or less given up on this one. All right, now he's going for it. Gideon emblem has been made. That means that any two of his threats are lethal. And that will do it for game one. Paulo Vitor Damo scoops up his permanence as Eric Severson takes one game. He's one game away from being 8-0 on day one of the Pro Tour. We'll be back right after these messages. Standard is the name of the game at Battle for Zendikar Game Day. Put what you've learned from watching the Pro Tour into action on October 24th and 25th at your local game store. Visit magic.wizards.com/gameday for more information. Join the battle. Battle for Zendikar is now available on Magic Online. Explore the new set by signing up for Magic Online at mtgo.com. And welcome back to the feature match area here in Milwaukee. We are down the stretch on day one here. We're in round 8, kind of in the middle of the round here. And this is a big one. You know, this is where people start to get a little bit fatigued, start to get a little stressed out at the end of the day, want to hang on for that big finish. Let's jump down and see what Matej Zendikar, call him Big Z, is up against. He's up against Kenji Samura, so he's up against a very formidable opponent here. And Kenji, it looks like he's got a great board state. In fact, I believe he has the winning board state there as Kenji Samura picks up game one there from Matej Zendikar.
No ascendancy, no fun.
Matej says, no ascendancy, no fun. You can see what kind of deck he's up to over there. Now let's jump over again to Christian Calcano versus Guillaume Mersham.
So this is that unique blue-black aristocrats deck we've been calling it that Christian Calcano has brought, I believe, his own creation.
I haven't seen it before him. Calcano's fallen all the way down to 6 life here, but he's going to attack for 3 and then play a Whirler Rogue post-combat, which is going to give him 3 blockers. That looks really good against the mono red deck here. Huh, this is a cool deck.
Yeah, it's been working well for him so far.
See that Nantuko Husk? There's a combo there.
Oh, yeah.
Give it unblockable, sack all your stuff, kill you.
Yeah, I mean, from an empty board, Nantuko Husk plus Whirler Rogue that's 8 damage immediately.
Wow, that's crazy. It looks like Calcano, though, is not in the position where he can, fuss around with cute combos like that. He's got to block.
That is true. I wonder if he'll block in such a way to try to preserve the Husk plus Whirler Rogue combo. Just being able to make that Husk unblockable. We don't know what he has in his hand, but it could mean, for example, another Whirler Rogue off the top could put together lethal. We will see, though.
Here's Atarka's command, though, for Mersham.
So Calcano wisely blocking the Trampler?
He is blocking
with the Nantuko Husk, so he can always make that Husk bigger if need be.
That's a McKindy slide runner there. It looks like they're still resolving this combat scene. How the dust is going to settle here as Christian Calcano is down to 3. He just took 3 from the Atarka's command.
Yeah, I assume that was a 3 damage to Calcano and +1/+1 to the team of Mersham.
Yeah, this seemed to be the case here.
So I expect Calcano just to sack the Thopters to the Nantuko Husk. Not quite sure what he's thinking about just now.
Yeah, because those Thopters are due to die anyway.
He actually probably is thinking about Become Immense on the Trampler.
It could be. And Become Immense hits the Trampler, so now he's really got to think about it. So McKinney Slide Runner is huge now.
Yeah, it's at
It's
least
9 power?
9 power. I didn't see if a land was played this turn or not, but it's at least 9 power. So Christian Calcano will have to make that Nantuko Husk into an 8/8 by sacrificing 2 more creatures. Oh, that's interesting. A fetch land here. Could this be a Murderous Cut coming out of Christian Calcano?
Oh, it is.
Wow, that
Jeez.
is absolutely savage.
What a beating. We'll hang on this match for just a moment here. You can see that our main match has started. We're going to be there in just a sec. I just want to see how this turn finishes off because what a blowout there for Calcano. He actually takes 0 damage that turn.
Well, he took 3 from Atarka's command and 1 from a fetch land, so he is down to 2.
Sure.
But he did take 0 combat damage.
But combat.
I totally agree, Marshall, and that was very well navigated by Christian Calcano.
Yeah, he did not take a single point off of those creatures.
That said, 2 life against a red deck, you're still a little bit worried.
Yeah.
But we'll see if one of these signature explosive plays can happen. I think this might lead to something here with Liliana sacrificing Bloodsoaked Champion.
Okay, so
she transforms, makes a zombie.
4/4 Husk right now.
And she can bring something back as well.
And maybe something that can be sacked twice. Okay, it's a Zulaport Cutthroat.
Oh, my goodness.
Attacks. No blocks. That's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Bring this back, sack it 12. Wow. What a finish. Look at that.
Wow,
Christian
amazing.
Calcano with the explosive finish. Fantastic stuff. Let's jump back to our main match here. Glad we hung for a couple of extra seconds because I haven't had a chance to see that deck do
Yeah,
that
was
yet.
super cool.
Wow, that was crazy. All right, so let's get back to our main match here, though, where we have Paulo Vitor Damo Da Rosa. He finds himself down a game against Eric Severson. Both of these players are 7-0. Oh, can you imagine hitting the hay after day 1 of the Pro Tour being 8-0?
Must feel great.
Yeah. Put yourself in such a good position to make a run for top 8 the next day.
Yeah, 2. 17.
Ooh, that was a big turn, though. We came here just in time. Severson just took out a threat and gained 2 life.
Oh, yeah, the power of Soulfire Grandmaster yet
Correct.
again in this game.
Yeah, I can't think that this matchup gets much better for Paulo post-board.
14.
Eric gets to slim down his removal spells. He has a ton of cheap ways to deal with small creatures in the colors that he's in. He gets silk wraps even, these extra things. Wild
Potential
slashes.
access to sweepers, maybe a card like Radiant Flames.
Yes. And speaking of that, he's going to kind of need one here, it looks like.
That is a lot of goblins.
Certainly in the market for something along those lines.
Looked like a pair of Jaces in his hand. A Silk Wrap and a Dragon Master Outcast. Nothing that's going to be fantastic for him right now.
All right, well, he has to settle for Jason Dragon Master Outcast as he passes back, but that doesn't match up very well against the 5 goblins that Paulo has going here.
How far you've fallen, Dragon Master Outcast. Getting ready to to trade with half of a dragon fodder.
Oh, no.
It's flavorful, at least.
Indeed.
The Dragon Master Outcast becomes the dragon fodder.
So there's an Abbot of Carol Keep, and that's going to find Wooded Foothills for Paulo, and he goes to his attack step here. Block, block. So this sees Paulo get in for 3 damage, knocking Severson down to 10 and taking out that Dragon Master outcast. But Paulo has no other follow-up play, just passes his turn. Here is an active Jace now. He's going to discard a Polluted Delta. But that does get Jace turned over. So transform Jace, and does he have anything great to do?
Silk Wrap Abbot.
Silk Wrap Abbot's a good start.
Not a lot. I mean, he can flash back a Wild Slash, but that's more or less equivalent to just
+1,
+1ing on a
Just
token.
doing that, yeah,
Yeah.
okay. He did play his second copy of Jace there. Now this one, of course, is in creature mode, but it blocks fine too.
Yeah.
So a very productive turn there for Severson. He got a lot of work done.
Ooh, but we do see in Paulo's hand in Atarka's command. This could be huge here.
Ooh.
Represents a ton of damage. Probably going to kill that other Jace as well. Assuming Jace blocks, that's 9 damage. Oh no, so one of the tokens is holding back. Yeah, so it would be 7 damage here from Atarka's command.
Yep. So I go to 7. And then I'll take 3. Or 4, rather, sorry. I'll go to 3.
Yeah, he took a lot of damage that turn.
Severson drops to 3. Jace dies.
Hey, he took 7. That was a big draw. And there's another dragon fodder for Paulo. So he has successfully gone very wide here. Is he going to even things up? He does.
He does, wow.
So Paulo, impressive, because those are some good turns for Severson, but Paulo just sort of workmanlike in his approach here and finishes the job there by going wide with goblins.
Yeah. So we'll hop on over to another match shortly.
Yeah, it looks like we're going to take a look at what Magnus Lanto is up to back there. He's playing against Tamada here, and Tamada finds himself up a game. Whoa, look at this board state, Ian.
Holy smokes. That's a lot of mantises and robots.
No kidding, fighting side by side, and Jace is kind of leading the way there, too. Goodness sakes. How the heck is Lanto supposed to get out of this? Well, there's more bad news here for Lanto. He's going to put Hangerback on top of his library. Yeah, just attack with the Mantis Rider, though, so Lanto's going to fall down to 8. Tamada's still at 13 here. He's got a Treasure Cruise in his hand. He's got another Jace to add to the battlefield, passes a turn back. Oh, there's a Gideon ally Zendikar there for Magnus Lanto. Create some more knights. And there's that Hangerback Walker that he drew for the turn. In the meantime, Tamada just keeps charging up the Hangerback Walkers of his own. This leaves him free to start looting with his still creature form Jace because he doesn't have enough cards to transform it yet anyway.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of players do this, Planeswalker Jace and backup creature Jace at the same time. I like it. Gives a lot of options.
And it looks like Tamada's going to respect Gideon here and start throwing some damage his way. He's going to plus Jace on the Hangerback Walker, and here's a Treasure Cruise. So Tamada's pretty content to play the control game here.
Yeah, and we have seen Jeskai Charm out of his deck already. So with Magnus Lanto at 8 life and a Jace at 3, we'll see what came off that Treasure Cruise, but even a single Jeskai Charm is lethal.
It's Magnus's turn here. He's figuring out what he wants to do. He's going to start by making another knight. Just got the one card. Looks like a Shambling Vent there. Pass the turn back. Tamada had left one land untapped there after the Treasure Cruise so that he could make sure that his Hangerback Walker gets up to speed.
I think that was a Jeskai Charm off the top.
Was it really?
I think so.
It was. Looks like Tamada liked your plan, Ian.
We'll see if he goes for it.
I mean, if I'm not mistaken, Lanto has no hand here. Well, we'll hang out here for just a minute. Let's see if he goes for it. It looks like he's got the win here.
Maybe we have life totals incorrect? Is that possible?
That could be. Maybe he's at 9 or 10 or something.
Yeah.
Because if Tamada's at 8, he's just got the 8 burn. All right, well, it looks like Magnus Lanto has seen enough, but that's right in time for us because our main match is just underway. Let's jump back over and check out Game 3 here. Who is going to stay undefeated? We've got a few others in the field, but this is our main match, 2 undefeated players, and we're going to decide which one gets to saunter back to the hotel with a big smile on their face and which one's going to say, oh, almost.
In reality, I think probably both of them are sauntering back with smiles. I think 7-1's great shape to be in as well.
I wouldn't be smiling. Now, if I lost my first round, then won 7 in a row, I'd be all smiles. Isn't that weird? Don't know why that's the case, but it is. It looks like Hangerback Walkers in the on-deck circle here for Eric Severson.
Okay. I'm at 18, you're at 19. Go ahead.
It's pretty annoying for Paulo Vitor Damo Da Rosa's side of the table here, right?
Yeah, Hangerback Walker kind of always is,
Yeah.
but especially when you're trying to get through with
Lightning
one
Berserker.
1 and 2 toughness creatures. Looks like a pretty easy trade there.
Paulo just says, well, I got to just take my medicine here. Just trades it off for half of a Hangerback Walker.
Jace. Sure.
Here's a Jace Friends Prodigy now for Eric Severson. Now, Ian, where do you see this going from here? Like, what needs to happen if Paulo's going to win this match, for example?
Well, I wouldn't say he's necessarily that far behind. You know, he did get sort of 2 for 1 by the Hangerback Walker, but he's got answers to Jace with Wild Slash, and Zergo's getting through here. So he's got a little bit of traction. I mean, one easy way for him to win is just to string together Become Immense, either with some extra burn or pump spells or a Teamer Battle Rage. We haven't seen that yet on camera. At least while I've been in the booth here.
Same.
But no, I mean, I think it's anyone's game from this point. We do see Severson has Radiant Flames, I think he just drew, or at least has in his hand. So that's going to be a big option for him. We'll see if he goes ahead on it this turn or if he waits to kind of make it a little juicier. But no, wisely against the red deck. I think getting greedy with your sweeper is probably ill-advised.
I think you're right.
16. Oh, sorry. 4 fetches. I'm at 16 as well.
No, 3 fetches, but I took one from the thing.
Oh, yeah. You just went 16.
You are at 16.
Yes, 16 all.
So what's happened here is Paulo's missed his third land drop a couple of turns, but he hit it now. And he just had his board swept away. But this is a big turn. I think he's got Hordling Outburst to refill.
And we saw that swarm of Goblin tokens just doing huge work last game. And with Severson just having used his Radiant Flames, he's either going to need to find another one or kind of slog through just a bunch of tokens, either by blocking in combat or using a bunch of one-for-one removal spells.
How about
Looks
Gideon?
like Gideon. Yeah, that's a great answer as well.
You cut here?
Yeah, okay. How many cards do you have? I have 3.
He does have to worry about Atarka's command this turn. I don't think Paulo has it in his hand, according to what I can see here. But I'm sure Severson is kind of just, clenching his jaw a little bit, hoping to get through this turn with Gideon still alive.
Okay. 2, 1. Yep.
Looks like a volley is going to take out Knight.
14.
Bunch of damage is going to hit Gideon, and then there's a finish up here with Wild Slash as well. So Paulo, his deck is not really built to play this type of game where he's kind of, grinding through the 2-for-1s that have been presented, but he is doing it.
He is, yeah.
Go ahead.
And he has got Severson down to 13.
Yeah, it's one of the, I'm going to say advantages, but, Paulo's had a landlight draw. It cost him a little bit in the early game, but the flip side of that is he's just got a lot of non-land cards to just continue kind of slogging through.
And he's done a good job. He just took down a Soulfire Grandmaster, and now he's pecking away for 2 each. Oh, cancel that order. Yikes.
16.
Gain 4, get back my Grandmaster, and block one of your tokens.
Is backbreaking.
All right, well, it looks like Paulo's going to cash in a Become Immense here to take down
It is being blocked? Yeah. Okay. So
the Soulfire Grandmaster, which looks like he just must do that here, right?
Soulfire dice.
Yeah, in a way that Ojutai's command just gained Severson 13 life. 4 from the command, 2 from the lifelink, and it blocked 7 power.
Wow, that's crazy.
Go ahead.
But I think Paulo, he knows that's what he has to do. Sort of his only hope is to run Severson out of gas and just hope these Goblin tokens can keep pecking away.
Unfortunately, Severson was not out of gas. Another copy of Gideon has hit the battlefield here, and even though Paulo finds another Dragon Fodder to go wide with 4 creatures, he's got a lot of work to do. He's going to be facing down 2 Knights now, which is effectively going to cut off Paulo from being able to attack.
Paulo basically needs Atarka's command. That's the only card I can think of in his deck that really gets him out of this in a realistic way where he can still win the game. He can top deck all the Wild Slashes in the world, and he's still not going to get past that Gideon.
That's right. I think it was a Fiery Impulse that he drew for the turn. Which doesn't look too great here either.
I mean, he can maybe go Fiery Impulse 1 token, attack Gideon with everything, lose a token, bring Gideon to 1, then next turn attack Gideon with 3 tokens, lose 2 more tokens and kill Gideon, but then he's still facing down 2 Knights and has nothing.
Oh, and here's another Ojutai's command for Severson.
This card has just been phenomenal all day.
So I go to 21.
And so what has to happen here is Fire Impulse just kills it, the Soulfire Grandmaster that he got back. Severson is now above his starting life total against Mono Red.
Attack.
And it feels like he turned the corner with that first Ojutai's command in some ways. And this one really seems to have shut the door here.
Yeah, I think it was even a reasonable option to just draw a card with that second Ojutai's command. He's that far ahead in the game.
I think you might be right. He was at a high life total anyway.
But with the Planeswalker providing, card advantage every turn, I think he's just content to make sure he doesn't die and just, extend the game as long as possible. And I really don't see Paulo coming back from this. I mean, we talked about Atarka's command. I think this is maybe the last turn that even that card helps him very much here.
I think he drew another Fiery Impulse, Ian.
Yeah, it seems like all these rending volleys and wild slashes and fiery impulses have really clogged up his draw this game. And, I like his decision to bring in some number of those cards. I don't know exactly how many he has in his deck, but the Soulfire Grandmasters have been absolutely brutal this match so far. And just making sure you have an efficient answer to that, I think, is great. Rending Volley also awesome at taking down Mantis Rider, which is a good blocker as well as an awesome attacker. So I like those cards. It just, when you're playing mono red and you draw too many reactive cards, this is where you end up.
Fire Impulse does have Spell Mastery on. That means that the Mantis Rider is going to go, but now Paulo's in the unenviable position of playing the control route here, the control role here, I should say. That's just not where his deck shines. Silk Wrap takes care of Abbot of Carol Keep. You heard it from Eric's mouth.
Attack with Gideon.
He's plussing Gideon here, too. This is really when you know that the corner's been turned. And Paulo finds himself in chump block mode against an opponent who's at 21 life. Paulo just has the 2 goblins left, and it looks like Eric Severson is going to be undefeated overnight here at the Pro Tour. Again, Eric's had some really nice GP runs. I see him out at most of the North American GPs as well. But undefeated on day 1 of the Pro Tour is a big deal. Take 4, go to 3. And that's it. Eric Severson does stay undefeated. Huge day for Eric.
Yeah, congratulations to him. That's awesome. He played well. That was a very convincing victory there. And best of luck to him tomorrow.
Now, for fans of Paulo Vitor Damo Da Rosa, worry not. He is, in fact, 7-1.
Mm-hmm.
And he looks like he's going to be in great shape either. Also, I'm told that it's peak end theory.
Yes.
You know the whole thing where I said I'd be sad if I lost the last round?
Oh, okay.
Landiho says this is how that works. So
gotcha.
Now
okay.
I have something to Google for after we're off the air.
Nice. The more you know.
But there is a weird mental thing like that. I have to say, though, big props to Eric Severson. He played great, brought a cool deck, and he is undefeated here. Mm-hmm. But I'm not worried about Paulo for peak end theory. Yeah. He's fine. Yep. He's going to come away saying, I had a 7-1 day. No, you can't ask for better than that.
It's been a good weekend for Brazil in many ways, so of course, hopefully that continues for Paulo.
Yeah, so awesome stuff there, and exciting to see Paulo as well. He had a little bit of a stretch there where he wasn't quite putting up the results he was used to. He wasn't able to test quite as much, and now he finds himself at 7-1 on day 1 of the Pro Tour. So a really big deal for him, and I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him make a run for the top 8, which, I think he topped 16 a couple of PTs ago. He went on a tear where he was, getting a lot of victories at the GP level, but getting into their top 8 here, that would be his 10th.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's just astounding.
Yeah. He is really one of the best players ever to play.
For sure.
That's why I'm not worried about him at 7-1 as we go overnight.
Yeah.
Impressions on Standard?
I like it so far. It looks, really diverse. Like we're seeing a lot of the cards we're familiar with. We're still seeing Siege Rider, we're seeing Mantis Riders, but the decks look and feel very different. And just the fact that you have so much flexibility with your mana base means that players and teams have a lot of customization as to how they configure their deck. And a lot of back and forth trying to predict what your opponents will do, adjusting your deck to compensate for that. And it looks like it's going to be a really, diverse and interesting format going forward.
All right. Well, we'll keep our eye on it as we wrap up day 1. Let's send back to the news desk and Richard Hagan.
All right, thanks very much to Marshall Sutcliffe and Ian Duke down there. I've been joined by Randy Buehler. Randy, I'd like a little history lesson, if you please.
Okay.
Not entirely for me, because I do actually know who this person is. But I've got to be honest, I think a lot of our viewers, if you say Rubin, I would say the majority of our audience are thinking top 25, Steve. No. Let's go with Hall of Famer Ben. Ben Rubin, 7-1 now. Discuss. Yeah. Who is Ben Rubin?
Ben Rubin, he's great. He actually debuted on the Pro Tour the same year I did.
So 1997.
1997.
Right.
I actually remember distinctly, I played him in his very first Pro Tour. Here I am, I'm Pro Tour champion, I'm playing against this 15-year-old kid, right? And he does this thing where, like, he draws a card and it just does this real subtle wince. Like he didn't have it, right? So I go all in, blow my giant growth, I'm gonna kill him next turn. He's just like, no, I've got the living death. Your creature's over there, I get all of these back. He finishes second at that Pro Tour.
The joy of Tempest.
Loses to David Price in the finals of Pro Tour Los Angeles, so finishes second. Then at Worlds that year, also finishes second. So his debut season on the Pro Tour, he just finishes second in 2 of the 5 Pro Tours. No big deal. Goes on to finish 5 top 8s. We used to wear a Superman t-shirt, and everybody was like, yeah, Ben pretty much doesn't lose. He's awesome.
So part 2 of the story is very quick. He goes away from the game for a while, gets busy, lives on an island, literally, for several years, comes back to the game, and was then very instrumental, not so much in playing, but in deck building for Brian Kibler's win at Pro Tour Austin.
No, he's a gamer. Like, he plays, if there's a game that you can win by being really smart and thinking about how to win the game, turn him loose. He was just great.
Grover the Burn Willows Punishing Fire. That was his combo, wasn't it?
Yeah, here, Brian,
at
go
Austin.
win another Pro Tour.
Yeah.
Have this.
So that was 2009. He gets into the Hall of Fame and then goes away from the game again for a little while, but came back, was part of
Nobody
a team.
ever really leaves.
Well, indeed. Just isn't quite as visible to the viewing public. Let's put it like that, maybe.
Sure.
But this, even though he's been at a couple of Pro Tours in the last year or so, after a couple of years off.
Yeah, anybody who was around late 90s, early 2000s, no one is surprised that Ben Rubin is 7-1 at a Pro Tour again.
Right.
Just not surprising.
But this is the first time since
in a while.
The latest comeback, if you like, that he's right there. So I hope he does well tomorrow. He is at 7-1. Someone else who is at 7-1 is waiting for us across the studio. And that is not only someone who is great, but someone whose deck is really great. Let's join Brian David Marshall and find out who he's with.
Hi everybody, I'm here with King of the Hill, Christian Calcano. Christian was just telling me he's never been the King of the Hill before, even for a round at a Pro Tour since we introduced it. How does it feel?
It feels awesome. I didn't even know until, I sat down for the feature match that it was a King of the Hill match. I just figured, he was 6-1 as well, but he was 7-0. And yeah, I got there, so first time I'm king.
Also current co-leader for Constructed Master.
That's true.
5-0 in Standard. Tell us about this deck.
Basically it's a blue-black Aristocrats deck. Basically, it was inspired by, apparently at the last Pro Tour, Sam Black was toying around with like Cities He's Faithful, Hangerback, like like a blue-black Aristocrats deck, but it just wasn't good enough. And two of my teammates, Tommy Ashton and Pascal Maynard, they, I guess they started talking about it, and they were like, oh, well, what did the deck lose? And we're just like, oh, nothing. And we're like, oh, okay, well, why don't we try this deck out? So then, they brewed it up and they made it, started beating everything, and, I was basically sold.
So let's talk for a second about the team in general. Team Target,
Yeah.
a ghost, has risen.
Yeah, I know, it's awesome. Yeah, like, Team Target, 10 years ago was, some of the best players to ever play, like people who are, Hall of Fame eligible that could get in, in some years, and like Osip, Eugene Harvey, Gerard Fabiano, etc. But yeah, this is, new Team Target. The store owner, Joey Manor, he
Gold
sponsors
Pro
us.
this year, right?
No, he made silver last year.
He made silver? Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, he sponsors us, and we're Team Target, and yeah, team's great. I love it.
How wide range of experience on the team.
Yeah.
I mean, you've been, I've known you for a long time, but you're a seasoned veteran at this point. Oliver Tamaiko, on the other hand, now this is someone who's coming to the Pro Tour 15 years old. What's it like, sort of now being in a position to mentor a young player where maybe at one time there were a lot of older players who mentored you?
Yeah, honestly, it's actually been a lot of fun. I was joking around with some of the guys that, I'm kind of starting to like learn how it's like to like be a dad, because because I'm the one who Oliver knows the best out of everyone in the group, because most of the guys
You were
just
the first
met
person
recently.
to tell me about him back at the Grand Prix when he ended up playing Billy Jensen in the last round.
But yeah, that kid, he's awesome, and I know if he keeps playing Magic, he's definitely have like a super bright future ahead of him. And I know he was, I think, 4-3 going into the last round. He's playing the same deck as me. It's been a long ride on the Pro Tour, 5 years, and I'm hoping to finally get that breakthrough finish. I know you wrote about today earlier, but yeah, we'll see.
You feel like this is the standard deck tomorrow, that you can navigate through a field of Atarkas and green-white megamorphs and all that kind of fun stuff?
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, when we were testing, we were beating all those decks, and those were the top 3 decks that have been performing on the open circuit. So, when they told me about this and I saw the deck in action, I was like, well, this deck seems awesome. I don't see why why I wouldn't want to play it. My fallback was going to be Atarka Red, just because we knew that the deck was very, very good and probably the best deck. And I know a lot of people, it was the most played deck I heard in the tournament. But I knew that the edge that I would gain from playing a deck such as this one would definitely be huge, whereas like a lot of people would be prepared for mono red. And even though it is the best deck, depending on the draws and the sideboard cards, they can definitely beat you. So I just figured I'd go with the surprise factor, and so far it's so good.
All right, Christian Calcano, we're going to drag you back here tomorrow. We're going to put you up against that wall, and we are going to talk about the blue-black Aristocrats deck. But for right now, we're going to send it back to the desk with Rich and Randy.
All right, thank you very much to Brian David Marshall and to Chris Calcano. A great job on day one of the true grinders in professional Magic roundabout now, and hope he has a good day tomorrow, because Randy, it's 7-1, great position, well above the curve for top 8, but every possibility of coming back in the morning, finding a difficult draft seat, 1 and 2 there, 8 and 3, couple of quick losses in constructed. Suddenly you're out the door at 8 and 5, and a lot of really great Magic players have had that happen to them. So 7-1 is by no means done and dusted. If you're thinking, if my friends are at 7-1, are they in? Are they kind of locked for top 8? Not how it works, is it?
Nope. Still got a lot of work to do, but in a great position to do it.
All right.
Have you seen some of the bubble matches, though? I mean,
okay,
7-1 feeling pretty good.
So
the
when
4 and 4s.
So when you say bubble match, so this is at 4 and 3 and 4
Yes.
coming into the round.
3 and 4 playing against 3 and 4.
Okay.
The winner gets to come back and play tomorrow. The loser is done with their Pro Tour.
Right, and by the way, because Randy and I were sort of doing a little bit of background math for tomorrow, and because it's like 367 players,
smallest
rather
PT in a while.
Okay, so rather than 400 and a few, that difference may mean that someone on 4 losses, 12 wins, 4 losses, has a better shot, certainly has a better shot of making the top 8. So a 4 and 4 tonight can go to bed tonight dreaming of the 8-0 sweep and not going, well done, you finished 12th, but well done, you finished 8th.
Especially with an above average number of unintentional draws out there in the field, just kind of points bleeding out of the system.
Right.
I do think we'll see a 4-loss player sneak in. Now, it may not be 4 losses early, your breakers may not be good enough, but whatever, you want to come back. There's tons of pro points, there's tons of money on the line, there's the chance to be the constructed master or the limited master on the line. You just want to play day 2, and so, newly minted pro Nathan Holliday wanted to play day 2. He defeated Joey Manor.
Okay.
Matt Costa, first pro tour in a little while for him. Right. He's hoping to break through that silver barrier and get to gold. He won his match. He'll be back on day 2. Serena Quinn will be back on day 2.
Oh, great, good stuff.
Yeah. How's this for a bubble match? Shahar Shenhar versus Bob Maher.
Oh, my Lord. So
that's a bubble match.
That's a 2-time world champion in the past 3 years. It's one of the greatest players of all time. Who won?
Shahar.
Wow.
TGO, Bob Maher will not be back. Here's another good, Sam Pardee versus Jeremy Dezani on the bubble.
Well, I'm actually surprised Dezani got to a bubble match, because I saw him at the bottom of the bottom tables, like mid-afternoon.
Well,
so
he was playing pretty well in Madison
he was,
last weekend.
Right, well, he was terrific, absolutely, and I was surprised to see him down there. So he got to the bubble and
did not get the job done.
Okay.
Sam Pardee comes back tomorrow.
All right.
Olivier Ruel won a bubble match over Steven Barrios. Antonio,
oh, wow, that's a big one.
Yeah, Antonio Del Moral Leon won his bubble match over Arnaud Honkemiller. Gabriel Nassif is through to day 2, winning over Davor Dechenik, Justin Cohen. Like, this field is so tough. Every time I walk out there, I'm like, how's that not a feature match? How's that not a feature match? How's that not a feature match? Well, there can only be 4. I got to get to one more, though.
Okay.
The bad news, probably the worst news in the bubble matches. Matthew McCullough defeats Luis Scott Vargas. LSV 3-5, LSV fans. He will not be here tomorrow.
But he'll be here.
He will be
Sunday.
here Sunday. I'd rather watch him play.
Yeah?
I'd rather watch him play. I feel bad for him that he did not have a particularly good day. It does mean we'll get to see him on commentary, but...
Right.
only a small consolation.
Okay, so that's a whole bunch of the bubble matches. Someone who didn't need a bubble match and was like way off in the distance is our overnight leader, because with Calcano beating Guillaume Merriam to go to 7-1, and this gentleman beating Paulo Vitor Damo Da Rosa, putting Paulo to 7-1, there is only one perfect record in the building, and that is Eric Severson. Here he is.
Thanks, Rich. I'm here with Eric Severson.
How's it going?
Eric, so third Pro Tour.
Yep.
You've started at your Pro Tour season at Theros. You started your Pro Tour season at Cons, and now you're starting your Pro Tour season here, the first Pro Tour of the year. This one's going a little better for you.
It's been a very, very good lucky day for me. I can't be happier with the result.
What's the big difference? Like, I mean, is there something different you did coming into this Pro Tour than you did in the two, where you go, you kind of squeak into day two, you don't make day two, and now you're here 8-0, the only undefeated player, and oh, by the way, just defeated Hall of Famer Paulo Vitor Damo Da Rosa.
I prepared a lot harder this time.
Okay.
I actually had a group of friends I was working with. We've been calling ourselves Team I'd Rather Not.
Okay.
This same.
Hopefully that doesn't refer to practice.
This some joke that Vidyanto Vijay and a team came up with. I'm not really sure why it is what it is, but this
I'm
is
going
the
to assume
name
that
we
means
decided
it's
to
for the
write.
best that I don't know.
It doesn't seem like there's much behind it, but yeah, this same group, they worked together for Origins. They were one of the teams that found the Thopter deck, so I had confidence that they would be a good group to test with. Some of my friends were on the team, so they asked me if I wanted to join. We've been in a house nearby for the last 5 days, playing a lot of Magic. And it's been really helpful being that prepared. Also, in this last year, since my last Pro Tour, I went to a lot of Grand Prix, so just the amount of competitive Magic I've played has gone up a lot.
Finals of Grand Prix Providence this past year.
Yeah, so Providence was what got me here, and then in the very beginning of last year's season, me and two of my teammates were in the finals of Grand Prix Portland.
So 2 Grand Prix finals.
Yeah, so I had
That's
two.
awesome.
I had 2 Grand Prix top 8s last year, but I only went to 1 Pro Tour, and I didn't make day 2. So it turns out with the current system, if you do really well consistently at Grand Prix, but not insane, and never do well at a Pro Tour, it's not going to amount to anything. I was at 17 pro points, just barely missed silver on a Heartbreaker. If I had won the tournament, Providence, that qualified me for this one, I would have exactly hit silver and been able to go to Origins. So it was almost the dream story, but I'm here again, get to start a Pro Tour for the first one of the season, and it's looking very good so far. Just my goal is still just to end up with an invite to the next Pro Tour and start chaining them together.
Okay. How's the rest of your team holding up? How have you talked to the guys? How are people doing?
I don't know the exact stats. We've had quite a few people that have scrubbed out. I was the only 3-0 out of the draft. We're not all on the same deck. It's been kind of split, but it definitely hasn't feel like I'm doing well because I broke the format or anything. I'm playing a very known deck, and it's just very solid.
What made you choose that deck? What was the thinking that went into that for you?
Well, we spent a lot of time early on trying to look for brews, hoping something sweet would work. Nothing really showed up. There seems to be no good way to cast 10 mana spells in the standard format and have it be competitive. So, of the stock decks we were trying, just nothing was really beating the Dark Jeskai deck we were throwing at it. And so early on, I felt like it was pretty likely I was going to play it. So all this week I've been playing the Jeskai deck. And of the other stock decks, the main other one is green-white, and I definitely felt like I didn't want to try to play the green-white deck because it's a lot easier to hate out. If there are decks that were going over the top, if Ulamogs were going to be a thing, that's pretty hard for a deck full of small green and white creatures to beat. So I like that I have access to a really good sideboard. You have cards like Disdainful Stroke, you have ways to interact with basically whatever your opponent's throwing at you, and I really never felt like there was a bad matchup for this Jeskai deck. Its mana is kind of greedy, not the best, but I at least like the fact that I can sit down at the Pro Tour, and even if my opponent's playing a deck that I didn't even know about, it's pretty unlikely that it's a terrible matchup for me, because the deck is just really resilient and just attacks on a lot of axes, and it's not easy to simply hate out.
Okay. Well, tomorrow you're going to come back. You're going to sit down at the draft table. You're going to do it all over again. So I'm going to let you go get a good night's sleep.
Thank you.
And good luck tomorrow. Hopefully we have a conversation like this again at the end of day 2.
We'd like to be back here, certainly.
All right. Eric Severson, Brian David Marshall, sending it back to the news desk with Rich and Randy.
Thanks very much to Brian David Marshall. More guests coming along in just a moment. Very impressive, Randy, especially as he isn't playing a super strange deck that happens to have sliced through the metagame. He's playing a normal deck, and he must, by definition, therefore, be playing that normal deck very well.
Fair.
Yeah, great stuff. You've been poring over the results.
I'm addicted to our Skype chat.
Anything else in the old 3-4 bracket?
Well, yeah, I mean, Ben Stark at 5'3" is interesting. Hall of Famer came back from kind of a slow start. Zvi Malchowitz also landed at 5'3". Bubble matches, I don't know. So I can't stop looking. Jason Chung survives.
Oh, so because he came into the rankings in 25th exactly this week. I don't think that's going to be a tough ask to stay there because the rankings churn so much from the PT.
Well,
so he's alive for tomorrow.
Yeah, I mean, anything better than 8-8 will get him extra pro points above the minimum. So see what happens. I like that rule change they announced today.
Yep.
Josh McClain survived a bubble match against Nam Sung Wook.
Yeah, see, that's not easy either.
No
word.
way.
An SW on Magic Online.
Indeed. Andre Strosky survived his bubble match. Fabio Anselmo from Brazil was the victim there.
All right. You said Brazil. Ding. Here's a thought. Even though they didn't get to 8-0, it's been a great day for Brazil. 2 7-1 players. One of them is Guillaume Merriam. The other one, the 5 names that you all know and love. Paulo Vitor Damo Da Rosa.
Great start to the tournament for you, 7-1. You really turned it on at the back half of last season.
Yeah.
And you're carrying it through here to the start of the season. But I want to ask you about something else. I want to ask you about Wednesday night at the Hall of Fame ceremony, what your emotions were like watching Willie Adel, someone you credited. You said, I don't think I'd be here today with all the accolades and achievements without Willie. What did it mean to you? You were very vocal in your support of him. What did it mean for you to see him get inducted in the Hall of Fame like that?
It meant a lot. It was very emotional, and I liked his speech he gave, and the fact that his family was there too.
All of his families.
Yeah.
Because the community of players, the Brazilian players, the Argentinian players, the Portuguese players, that really is like a family to him as well.
Yeah, it really is. But his wife, Fernanda, who, I know sometimes misses him a lot and complains that he's gone for a month.
Sure.
And it was a combination of all his effort for her as well. The fact that she was there and she was also very touched, and that part was very, very nice for me.
So, switching back to the tournament though, new team, new old team really. How has everyone fared? Like, how do you guys feel like? Obviously you're 7-1, but are you an outlier there, or is everyone doing pretty well? What's the landscape look like for the face-to-face games, guys?
I think we've done mostly well. I think I'm the only 7-1 right now, but I know we have a 6-2, and we have a bunch of 5-3s and some 4-4s, I guess. And I think Shuhei didn't make day 2.
Okay.
So he's probably the only one that didn't.
Okay.
We ended up playing just a variety of decks.
Okay, so not everyone's not on that same deck that we've been watching you play.
No, not everyone is playing Mono Red.
So this is about as far away from your previous Pro Tour deck as you could possibly get, right? They're just on the complete total opposite ends of the spectrum.
Yeah, they are. Yeah, Aspect Control and Mono Red aggro, just natural enemies.
Is it actually aggro, or is it more of a combo deck?
I think it's more of a combo deck. Honestly, the way I feel playing it, I feel like I'm playing Splinter Twin.
Interesting.
If someone's played Splinter Twin in Modern, they know that it's a nightmare, because if you ever, sometimes you can't play spells because you're afraid they'll just kill you. And then, you pass, they don't kill you. You're like, oh, they don't have it. Then you tap out, they're like, yep, you're dead. And it feels the exact same, except this deck is actually applying pressure. So I have a bunch of guys in play. What are you going to do? Are you going to not play your Siege Rhino, to leave up instant speed removal spells? You can't do that. So eventually you're forced to play it, and then you die. So I feel like this is more of a combo deck, but the fallback is aggro, when usually the fallback for combo is control.
And so quickly, just the combo is a creature.
Yeah, any creature, and then Become Immense, or sometimes Titan Strength, depending on how big your creature is, and Timur Battle Rage. So if you have a 1-1, it becomes a 7-7 with double strike, so it hits for 14, which is usually enough. But if you have, for example, Abbot of Carol Keep, it's 2-1 prowess, that's 20 damage already.
Oh wow, so you can just kill people with one creature.
Yeah, we were testing, and I had a game in which my opponent went land, Mantis Rider, and I went land Chandra. That was my first play of the game, turn 3 Chandra. He went Jeskai Charmed, put it back on top, attack for 3. I didn't draw land, just replay Chandra, passed. He attacked, played Ojutai. I drew, attacked, and killed him. I just played a fetch land, Titan Strength, Become Immense, Timur Battle Rage. He blocked too, and he died.
And those dual-only spells I played. Like, this is just not a normal aggro deck. It's a combo deck, I think.
Okay. All right. Well, Paulo Vitor Damo, I'm going to let you go celebrate with your friends, catch up with your teammates, and we'll be back tomorrow, hopefully back in these chairs, talking about your plans for the top 8.
I hope so.
Paulo Vitor Damo Da Rosa, Brian David Marshall, back to the desk with Rich and Randy.
What is that about? I cast a Planeswalker. I recast the Planeswalker. Then I killed him. He blocked anyway. Never mind. That's crazy stuff. All right. A few big results that we haven't got people to yet. Give us a few big names.
Paul Rietzel over Arilax. Paul at 5-3 overnight. Sigrist 5-3. Shota Yasaoka over Alurade in a Battle of Hall of Famers.
Wow.
5-2-1 overnight for Shota. Andrew Cuneo, 6-2. Right on track.
That is the Cuneo record. And the
right,
thing
he's
is...
going to go 12-4. He's going to get some pro points.
Be 15th. Who knows? Maybe this is the time that 12-4 gets him 8th.
Oh, yeah, maybe. Defeating Masashi Oiso.
All right.
Paul Cheon is 6-2 overnight, having defeated Alexander Hayne that round.
Wow, that's a big one.
And Owen Turtenwald, 6-2 overnight.
Okay, great stuff. You mentioned, we talked about little history lesson, Hall of Famer Ben Rubin. We thought the person who would actually know most about Ben Rubin was Ben Rubin. So here he is.
All right, I'm sitting here with Pro Tour Hall of Famer Ben Rubin. Ben, great to have you here.
Thank you, Brian.
7-1. So you prepared for the event with Pantheon. You guys ended up playing Dark Jeskai for the tournament?
That's right.
So what made you, like, what makes this the deck that you want to play?
We were doing some mock tournaments at the house, and it was a deck that hadn't been played yet. But I looked at it, and if you look at the decks from last Pro Tour, Abzan lost Courser of Kruphix and Thoughtseize, and Esper lost Dissolve and Bioblight, and Mono Red lost Searing Blood and Goblin Rabblemaster, other cards. You look at Jeskai, they hardly lost anything. And they got better mana, and some of the cards that are gone were particularly good against them. Like Bioblight and Courser Kruphix were serious problems. So it just made sense. So I basically spent 8 days working on various ways to build Jeskai. That just seemed like the place to be. So I'm not sure it's the best choice. A lot of people are metagamed against it.
Okay.
But that was what I learned to play and worked on.
And what's the typical game plan for that deck look like? Like, what do you want to do, or is it a deck that is capable of doing a lot of different things in a lot of different matchups?
Well, your two most powerful cards are Mana Strider and Jace. So if you get a Mana Strider to stick, you're trying to deal 20.
Yeah.
And if you get a Jace to stick, you can usually take control of the game, or at least disrupt your opponent. If you get neither, it might be a tough game. But those shape you're playing a lot.
Okay. Now, how often do you Pro Tour at this point? Is this something like, if you do well here, are we going to see you at every Pro Tour this season? Are you going to make a run for the Hall of Fame slot at the World Championships? Like, how? I mean, I know you're a busy guy. Like, how much do you have that drive to?
Well, there was a local Grand Prix, and I went to it, and I just went to it to go. And I had a really good time, so I went to the next Pro Tour, and I've just been having a really good time each event. So I'll probably go to every Pro Tour. Yeah, awesome. I don't have any goals like Hall of Fame slot in the World Championships. That would be great, but yeah.
So as long as you're having fun, you're going to keep doing it.
Quite right.
That sounds like a great formula. That's why we all started playing in the first place, right?
It's hard, hard to remember that far back, but yeah, that's it.
Just one question. We have a kid here, 15 years old, playing in his first Pro Tour. Reminded me, obviously, you think back to Ralph Levy, you think to Ben Rubin, people doing well. What advice do you have for someone who's going to start playing Magic at that age, at this level?
What's that, the Apple guy, Steve Jobs, what does he say?
Says a lot of things.
He says,
not anymore. But.
Stay hungry, stay foolish. I think that's what I would say.
Awesome.
Yeah.
All right, thank you, Ben Rubin. Good luck tomorrow. Hopefully we see you back here, and we'll talk more about this Hall of Fame slot as it approaches.
Excellent.
For Ben Rubin, Brian David Marshall, sending it back to the desk.
All right, thanks very much to Brian David Marshall and to Ben Rubin in the Hall of Fame. A great guy, one of the most interesting guys on tour. It is great to have him here with us, and it's great to hear he'll be at pretty much every Pro Tour. This that I have in my hot, sticky hands, not that sticky, I guess, is the end of day standings. And if we have the end of day standings, it must be time for the end of day wrap.